The Pendle Witch trials of 1612 are among the most famous and well-documented witchcraft trials in English history. Taking place in the area around Pendle Hill in Lancashire, these trials saw 12 people accused of witchcraft, 10 of whom were executed by hanging. This story is not only a reflection of the superstitions and fears of the early 17th century but also provides a deep insight into the socio-political and economic conditions of the time. The early 1600s in England were a time of religious, social, and political upheaval. The Protestant Reformation had significantly altered the religious landscape, and the country was rife with tension between different Christian denominations. King James I, who ascended to the throne in 1603, was a fervent believer in witchcraft and even authored a book on the subject, Demonology. His belief in witchcraft and the supernatural set the tone for increased paranoia and persecution of supposed witches. Lancashire, particularly around Pendle Hill, was considered a wild and lawless region. The area was known for its recusant Catholic population, who secretly practiced their faith despite the Protestant Reformation. This religious nonconformity made the local population more susceptible to accusations of witchcraft, as Catholic practices were often viewed with suspicion. The 12 accused witches of Pendle were primarily from two feuding families, the Demdikes and the Chaddixes. Elizabeth Southerns, Old Demdike, an elderly and blind matriarch, known locally as a cunning woman or healer, but also feared for her supposed dark powers, and Whittle, Old Chaddix, another elderly woman with a reputation for witchcraft, stemming from a long-standing feud with the Demdike family. Alison Device, granddaughter of Old Demdike, whose confrontation with a peddler named John Law sparked the initial accusations. James Device, Alison's brother, who, along with his sister, became entangled in the witchcraft accusations. Elizabeth Device, daughter of Old Demdike and mother of Alison and James, who was also accused of witchcraft, and Redfern, daughter of Old Chaddix, who was implicated in the witchcraft accusations through her association with her mother. The prosecution, Roger Noel, the local magistrate who conducted the initial investigations and played a pivotal role in bringing the accused to trial. Thomas Potts, the clerk to the Lancaster Assizes, who documented the trials in his book, The Wonderful Discovery of Witches in the County of Lancaster. The chain of events leading to the Pendle Witch trials began in March 1612 when Alison Device encountered a peddler named John Law. According to Law's testimony, Alison cursed him after he refused to sell her pins. Shortly thereafter, Law suffered a stroke, which he and others attributed to Alison's curse. This incident led to Alison's arrest and confession, where she accused her grandmother, Old Demdike, and members of the rival Chaddix family of witchcraft. Roger Noel, the local magistrate, took the accusations seriously and began a thorough investigation. Under interrogation, Alison Device confessed to witchcraft and implicated other members of her family. Old Demdike and Old Chaddix, along with their families, were arrested and taken to Lancaster Castle to await trial. The confessions obtained during the investigation were often made under duress or threat, reflecting the intense fear and superstition of the time. The trial took place at the Lancaster Assizes in August 1612. The prosecution's case relied heavily on the confessions obtained from the accused and the testimonies of local witnesses. A significant and unusual piece of evidence was the testimony of a 9-year-old girl, Janet Device, daughter of Elizabeth Device and granddaughter of Old Demdike. Her testimony was crucial in securing the convictions. The trial proceedings were a blend of dramatic accusations, dubious evidence, and fervent belief in witchcraft. Thomas Potts, the clerk, meticulously recorded the events of the trial, which were later published in his book, Elizabeth Device. During her trial, Elizabeth's daughter Janet gave detailed testimony against her mother, describing how Elizabeth had bewitched a local child to death. James Device, he was accused of using witchcraft to kill 2 individuals and causing others to fall ill. His confession, likely obtained under pressure, described how he used a familiar spirit to carry out his deeds. Old Demdike and Old Chaddix. Although Old Demdike died in prison before the trial, Old Chaddix faced the court. She was accused of multiple acts of witchcraft, including the murder of Robert Nutter, a local man. The trial concluded with 10 of the 12 accused being found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. The condemned were Anne Whittle, Old Chaddocks, Elizabeth Device, James Device, and Redfern, Alison Device, Jane Bocock, John Bocock, Alice Nutter, Catherine Hewitt, and Janet Preston, who tried separately at York Assizes. The executions were carried out on August 20, 1612, marking a grim chapter in England's history of witchcraft persecution. The Pendle Witch trials exemplify how accusations of witchcraft were used as a tool for social control. The trials served to reinforce the existing power structures and the authority of the ruling classes. They also reflected the intense fear and superstition that permeated society, where natural misfortunes were often attributed to malevolent supernatural forces.